Hey guys, we're back, and this time we're going to take a look at the Captain is Dead Lockdown, the second game in the Captain is Dead series. And this time around, you are trapped on an alien prison, and you have to escape. And the map is pretty much the same as the original game. I think the original version of this was like a print and play thing. It was done on Kickstarter, and then AEG bought it and made these store-bought copies of them. But I think you actually used the original map and they just modified it a little bit. But this one comes with everything you need to play right in the box. So we'll get in and take a look. I'm in the middle of making a 3D printed insert for this, so everything doesn't sit in here nice. So we're going to throw it off to the side here. And first thing we have here is our rule book, and most all of the rules are very similar to the original. You have nice full color layout of what all of the different cards are, what they look like, how many you should have of everything, and the player tokens, which are actually acrylic. They don't look like the cardboard pawns it shows. But the basics of the setup and how to play are very similar, and the whole game really works pretty similar. There's a few new roles to kind of balance out the classes. Like there's a sympathizer now. I want to say there's 3 of each now. I think engineering was the only one that was 1 shy, or something was 1 shy. And I think it was those guys. So there was a promo card that we'll get into that added a 3rd player of that type. But I want to say all the rest are pretty balanced out now. And each of the roles, of course, gives you a special ability. They are different in this than they were in the original, so you got to pay attention. If you have a favorite character from the original one, they are slightly different in this. And because you're trying to escape the prison, now you have to deal with a concealment level. And they have a, as they put it, a controversial thing in here for player elimination. Eventually the level will get to a set to kill version. And if a character dies, they're pretty much out for the game. But the player's not eliminated. As soon as the set to kill level is reduced, the player can respawn as one of the other characters of the same color. So there's that. Grenades are new. In this one you are trying to escape from prison, so you have a whole new thing of systems to work with and tools. There's a thing into how to unlock and turn the systems on. And a few other new rules. The improvised plans take place of the battle plans from the original game. And then there's still the alert deck, which is going to have things happen, as well as the aliens moving around the ship. The big new thing in this is that there are multiple different types of aliens now, and they each have their own abilities. So they're not just stationary sitting there now. And then they have some strategy tips in the back on how to overcome the game, as well as some variant rules to change things up a little bit. Even a single player option in there, which is nice, especially in this day and age. And there's a cheat sheet in back here for the different types of aliens, as well as some quick reference cards here on the back of the book. Next we have the board, which is literally almost identical to the, oh, there's still a card in there, to the original one. And the only thing that's kind of weird about this is that they oriented it so that each side of the board faces, like this side here faces me, this side faces that way, this side faces that way. So if a player's sitting on each side of the board, they can see things from their perspective. It's kind of strange, but I guess it fits. I think the other one was all oriented to face one way. I might be wrong, but anyway, you have the security tower in the center, which is where the CPU used to be. Everything's been renamed a little bit. They are moved around a little bit. So the security tower has the computer and internal sensors. This is also where your skill deck's going to be and things like that. You're off this way, you have a launch bay. The launch bay is where the teleporter is, and eventually the launch bay is what you need to prep to escape. That takes place of the warp reactor that was in the original game. Over here we have the maintenance room, and this is where your research station is going to be to get your upgrades. It's also where you go to remove your anomalies if any show up. There's a holding cell off to the side here, which is attached to the infirmary, and that's where your medical station is. Then over this way we have our armory, which has the security station, which controls the turrets, as well as the grenade locker. Then around this way you have the Warden's Office, which is where the comm system and closed circuit video are. There's also your concealment level is on here, and if this gets down low enough, the guards set their weapons to kill, and that's where you get into that player elimination thing we talked about earlier. Over here we have the mess hall. This is where you can set up distractions. This is also where the improvised plans come from. And then finally we have a storeroom off to the side here. And the storeroom is attached to basically what the cargo bay used to be. Your tools and things are going to be in storage here. As with the original game, you have your crew cards. Everybody's going to pick a color of a crew card. And then there's different ways to do this. Ideally, they give you the three. You randomly draw one, or you can just choose the ones you like. That's what we normally do, just for fun. But basically, you're supposed to choose a class, and then one of these three gets randomly assigned to you, or you pick, or whatever, however you want to do it. But these are going to be your characters that you play. As I said before, there are a couple new ones, like the Alien Sympathizer, and then their effects are listed at the bottom. As with the original game, you have your rank up here, which is going to determine the turn order. Lowest goes first, up to the highest. This is your number of actions that you get. So in this case, the Admiral here has 4. I think almost all the characters have 4. There's a couple special cases that have more. Up here is how many cards you can have in your hand. 6 again is the average. I think almost everybody has 6. There's a couple special characters that are different. And then these are your free icons. So in this case, the commander always counts as having 2 command. The first officer always counts as having a command and a tactical, and so on. And then your abilities at the bottom here. Each character is different, and it takes a combination of them to complete the tasks you're going to need to beat the game. And as you can see, there's 3 of every choice except for the, I think these are weapons of it, or weapons tactical. No, tactical is red. I'm not sure what they used yellow. They're weird names in this, but they worked in the armory in the last one. Armory is still yellow, so. But there's only 2 of these. So to combat that, to balance everything out, there was a special promo that came out that introduced the Spy. And the Spy is a new character, as well as the minimum security promo. It's kind of the rules card that came with it. There's another card we'll get to later that came with this promo too, but if you can get your hands on this, it's only a couple bucks. Adds a new character option to your game, as well as balancing them out. For that set to kill rule, when people die, now everybody will have 3 different characters to play, to swap out to. One of the neat new things about this are the new character tokens. I have to say, these are much cooler than the originals. The originals were just a symmetrical, I don't know if anybody in here has. You can't really find any that are like that anymore. But they were, he's probably the best example. They were originally just a cut dome shape. And what happens is some of these more dramatic poses and things where they have, you know, an arm stretched out, these were cut off on the artwork. So all of the pieces are now custom shaped to fit the artwork. I'm sorry, I won't focus on those, but but they look much nicer and they fit the characters. They show the artwork off. I like these much better than the original ones. But you get an entire set of these, one for every character in the game. And there are a lot of characters to choose from. Don't know if they all show up on camera because they kind of blend together, but yeah, there's a ton of characters to choose from, 3 from each color. All new tokens for all of them, which are great. Another new addition to this game are the veteran abilities. So on top of the ability you get from your specific card, you're going to get one of these veteran abilities dealt to you at the beginning of the game. They do various things, give you various abilities. And because these change up, even if you use the same character from one game to another, the different ability that you get may swap out and make them play different in a different scenario. So you can play the game multiple times, not only switch up which ones of the characters you take and what combinations of classes you take, but the veteran abilities are always going to be different as well. Then you have your different systems that are available throughout the prison, and just like in the other game, this one they have flipped sides. They're going to start locked. This is what you have to do to unlock them, either use an action and a wild card here, which is the alien language, or you can do this to hack into it. Once they're unlocked, you flip them over. You can use them for the various things on there. There's a whole series of these. I kind of went over them when we went quick through the map, but you have distractions, which allow you to draw the plans once they're online. You have the grenade locker, which allows you to take grenades. The security station, which allows you to use the turrets on the station to kill hostile aliens. The storeroom, which allows you to grab tools or skills from that. It's kind of like, it replaces like the cargo hold in the first game. Internal sensors, which make you have that face-up skill pile of cards that you can draw from. Computers, which give you that skill pile to draw from. Closed circuit video is kind of like internal sensor or external sensors from the original game, and allows you to look at the top 2 alerts of the deck and see what's coming so you can plan ahead. The comm system allows you to move skills around to other players in any location. You don't have to be with them, just like in the original. The teleporter allows you to spend 1 action to move instead of normal movement, so you can teleport other players as well, and tools around too, which are helpful. And then, as I said, those all start the game locked, and you have to do various things to unlock them to be able to use those abilities. And they're going to go on the various system spots all over the table. One of the changes is the maintenance room is where you're going to be doing your research and stuff now. And you can use the research lab station to basically unlock these various subsystems and things. And just like in the other game, once they're unlocked, you flip them over. They'll take up one of these upgrade spots that are here on the board, and they can, once they're unlocked, they can be used for whatever abilities depending on what you unlock. The trade-off is you can only have 2 upgrades unlocked at any one point. Technically, you can have 3 because the aggressive medbot here goes to the actual med station in the infirmary and not using up one of the upgrade slots. But other than that, you can have 2 upgrades active at any one time. And there's a bunch of interesting things in here to help you out with your various plans to escape. It's also like the original game. We have a whole deck full of skills here, and these are what you're going to be using to activate various things throughout the ship. So in the case of unlocking the grenade locker here, you would have to be in the armory. You would have to either use 1 action and an alien language card to unlock this, or you could hack into it by using 1 action, 2 engineering, but this also raises your alert level. That's what the camera icon means there. So that's going to drop this alert level down some on here. And once it's done, this becomes active. And then again, to use this, you would need one action, 2 command, and a tactical. So like we showed the cards earlier, the Admiral already has the 2 commands, so you'd only need the 1 tactical, or the First Officer had 1 command and 1 tactical, so you would only need those to trigger it. So it's kind of a management of your supplies in order to make use of those. The only addition to the new deck is these wild cards, which are considered alien language. So they can be used for the alien language like we just saw there in unlocking the grenade locker, or you can use them as a wild card for any of the other icons that would be needed. So they're definitely a really nice card. And then you have the normal science, engineering, command, and tactical cards as well. Other than that, yeah, other than the addition of the wild cards, everything in the skill deck is pretty much the same. Next we have our tools, and they're a lot of similar stuff to the original. The rifle, the pistol, the alarm suppressor is new. There's a cloak, a translator, and that goes with the promo. And you have a couple scent bombs. So all the most of the items are going to go in the storage room. They're going to be locked until you unlock that. The scent bombs get set aside along with the honeypot crystals, which we'll get to. And then the grenades are actually going to get put in the grenade locker when that's unlocked. The next interesting addition to this game are the contraband cards. And anytime you set up the alarms, so like we said with these, hacking into a system here triggers an alarm. Anything with the security camera there. Killing an alien triggers an alarm. And there's a bunch of other things that do. Whenever you trigger an alarm on your turn, you're going to draw one of these contraband cards if you don't already have them. And they have various things in here that can help you out. You're only allowed to carry the one at a time, but very nice, very useful. As for the alarms, there is going to be a marker on here, which I should probably get out. You're going to have a marker on here, starting at 100%. Every time an alarm sounds, this is going to drop down. If it ever gets down to set to kill, that's when you get into that player elimination thing we talked about earlier. Anything that can lower this, so every time you kill an alien, this is going to go down. Every time a player is found in a room that they're not supposed to be in, that's not their starting location, this is going to go down. Every time a system is hacked instead of unlocked normally, which we went over with the little camera icons, this goes down 1. Every time an alert is overridden, which we haven't gotten to the alert cards yet, but they're the red, orange, and yellow alert cards. Every time one of those is overridden and bypassed, this is going to go down by 1. And every time you unlock a system by either hacking it or using in a system that's affected by honeypots, which are these little cubes here, they're going to go down. And then every time an alien hacker goes in and relocks a system, this is going to go down 1. So this goes up and down quite frequently. And you want to keep it as high as possible. This is kind of like your shield counter in the original game. You want to keep this as high as possible to keep yourself as safe as possible. So we talked about these, the improvised plans. They're basically your battle plans from the original. And these are things you're going to basically carry out to make your life easier or harder on the aliens. And then we have our alert cards. And these again come in yellow, orange, and red. You're going to randomly shuffle these up. They're going to be stacked up here. At the beginning of the game, you're actually going to do the first 5 all at once. These work just like the ones from the original game. You have here, you can cancel it outright if you use this combination here, in which case is 3 alien languages. Or you can override it with 3 command, however that causes an alert. Then you're going to look up here to see what happens. So in this case, you're going to add 2 alien patrols and an alien infantry to the Warden Office hallway, which, and this is, I think I buried, but it's going to be this hallway right out here. and so on. These get progressively worse. When you get into the red ones, you're probably going to lose. One of the neat new things about this is that the aliens aren't just one type that basically stand there. I think these were the originals from the last game, and all they did was stand there and do nothing. In this, they actually all have different abilities, and over here is what they do and what it takes to kill them. Like in this case, it takes 2 actions to kill a lieutenant instead of just 1. And they also have their ranks listed here. On the back side of these little cards, they have their patrol movement, because they are going to wander the ship. They don't just sit idly anymore. So you have to keep that in mind. Their patrol paths might run into you. If they run into you and you're in a system you're not supposed to, that's going to trigger an alarm. This is going to go down. Things are going to get bad. But it comes with one of these for each player. So you have reference cards to look at to keep track of that stuff. And then on top of that, you get new models for all the various aliens. And they all have their rank symbols on the tokens, so you can keep them track, because there is a lot of them. There's another, the same guy. They're also color coded too. There's a different, that's our basic alien trooper there. And these are our patrol alien guys. And these are our lieutenants. They kind of remind me of General Grievous. And then we have the commanders. So as you can see, there's a lot more aliens than there were in the original game. I think the original game only had 12 that you had to worry about. Now you have an entire army. So the big thing is, expect with any kind of co-op like this, you're probably going to die your first few times until you get a good battle plan going. You get a good strategy devised. Then it becomes a little easier. There are some optional rules in the back to increase or decrease difficulty, as well as setting the launch bay, the little bar that goes on there. You can set these anywhere from why bother all the way down to insane, and the more difficult that is, the harder the game's going to be. Basically, the less time you have to do what you need to do. Overall, it's a very interesting game. I'm a big fan of co-op games. We're not big PvPers around here, so I like games where you get to work together. And this one has a lot of shared knowledge and things. You can see what cards and skills other people have, and make a plan ahead of time. Hey, if you go to this room and do this, I can go to this room and do this. We can bring this system back online. It's a lot of the same gameplay-wise as the original game. The guards going on patrol add a new aspect to that. The variety of different enemies also add a new aspect that you have to take into consideration. And it's a lot of interesting systems that all work together with a tried and true core. The original Captain is Dead game is a lot of fun, and we enjoy playing it. And this one just basically takes that game to the next level by adding a bunch of new things. I do suggest that you start with the original one just to get a feel for the core mechanics of the game before moving on to this one, because it just builds off of those. So if you already understand those mechanics, it's that much less you have to learn when playing this game. You're only really concerned about the new stuff that's added, and the other basic things haven't changed. And as with the original, things progressively get worse, and it can come to a point where you can't win and it becomes an unwinnable scenario. That's the price of a co-op game. You start over and play another one. It plays quick, and it's easy to just start over, swap up your character choices a little, and out of this big pool of characters, you might find a combination that works better for your playstyles, as well as picking up different equipment or unlocking different systems in a different order. The alerts coming up in a different order makes a big difference too. So things can change rapidly based on what goes on. Overall though, it's a really fun game, and it looks great. I love the new standees for the characters. Much better than the original game. I wish I had an extra set of these. I would replace the ones in the original game so we could keep all of them. The real downside is a couple of the new characters you cannot use in the original game because the abilities they have don't necessarily work. I mean, you could probably tweak them a little bit to make them fit, but that's not a huge deal. Overall, though, I had a lot of fun with it, and I definitely suggest it to anybody who is a fan of The Captain is Dead. Also wanted to mention that I talked about in the video the minimum security promo card here, which I'm not even sure where it came from, but it's pretty easy to get your hands on. It comes with this little rules reference card, which talks about, you can see my camera, basically it's an extra character to add to your game. It comes with some extra cards as well. You get this minimum and medium security card, which replaces the security default concealment cost of what it costs to up your concealment. Basically changes the difficulty of the game. Then you get the new spy card, which is your new character for the game, and she gets a alien ability as well as one extra card in her hand. She also starts with a pistol, translator, and cloak, and can replace up to certain tools. Downside is she doesn't come with an actual token, so you have to use one of the other tokens, but she's just in disguise. And then you also get the inviting spray, which gets added to the storeroom with the other tools. It allows you to spend an action to move all hostile aliens in one location to an adjacent location. Then you flip it. I think it only does one. Nope, allows you to do the same thing. So you can do the same thing twice with that. So that's nice. And then lastly, you get the Sac Extractor Upgrade, which goes to the maintenance room. And that's activatable for 4 science and an action. And it allows you to claim a scent bomb whenever a hostile alien commander is killed. So that's an optional upgrade for your ship that you can put into play. And again, you have the rules card there, so it's a nice little set. It shouldn't cost you much to get your hands on. And not only do you get the new character, but you get a bunch of other nice upgrades for the game to give you some more options in there. Well worth tracking down if you're a fan of the game. See if you can find them. They were on the BGG store pretty cheap, so you should be able to find them there. If not, places like eBay or just anywhere online. And that's pretty much all there is in that. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for our look at the Captain is Dead Lockdown from AEG. As always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.